Yo, what up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Blood Splatter Chatter. Little bonus blood here on a Wednesday afternoon with my brother Missing Link to discuss two borderline bangers. Borderline bangers. I don't know which one I like better. We're going to figure out through this conversation. We're doing Hard Eyes and Companion. Both came out, I think both came out like in February. I know Hard Eyes did.
Yeah.
Maybe Companion a little bit earlier than that. Both of them, I think this is a perfect double feature. Both of them got a little love story going on. Both of them run time exactly 97 minutes, which I like. They both had the same runtime. Nice young cast for each one of them. But what up, my brother? Appreciate you being here as always.
Oh, always happy to be here. But I'm yeah, man. These I haven't seen much this year, but two of my favorite movies I've seen so far this year. Just without saying too much, but just both of them were entertaining, very entertaining. It didn't. It is, and I know we say this all the time, but it's like it's not going to change your world. Half the time, movies don't need to do that, but they did their job, and I'm glad we can finally talk about these because I kept telling you and Brother Stu, a few weeks ago, I was like, yeah, this is kind of like similar to The Gorge, not really, but do you see? We'll get to what I was going for with that eventually, in that comparison. But yeah,
right.
I love these movies,
especially with Hard Eyes. Well, let me throw it out there first. We'll talk about Hard Eyes first, and then we'll talk about Companion. Both of them, I would say, they have twists where you don't want them spoiled, but we'll be spoiling them both. But we'll try to wait until we, like, for instance, with Hard Eyes, we won't spoil the end, the twist, and the reveal of who the killer is until we get to the end. But other than that, it's a spoiler alert. But we'll give you an additional spoiler alert when we do the major spoilers. So this one, I'm so excited to talk about. I'm stoked to talk about both of them, but it's so cool that Hard Eyes is directed by Josh Rubin. Because we just did a few weeks back, we did Werewolves Within, which is, it's this movie that's like, I don't know, it's not even a great movie, but there's a part of me that loves that movie. It's just like a cute, fun movie, and you can really see like a leap forward, right? Like he's a better story, better director. It's even funnier, it's punchier, but I can also still tell it's the same dude. Not to down talk Werewolves Within. Werewolves Within was just like, it was almost like it was never meant to be a bigger movie. You know what I mean? Like this one was intended to be like a big movie that everyone was going to see.
When that movie first came out, I checked it. I watched it. I enjoyed it more on the rewatch we did when we discussed it. But when the first movie first came out, I saw it. It was cool. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. But then when I found out on the rewatch, I was like, oh, this was based off a video game. And it was like, essentially, I don't know if the Ubisoft, the video game publisher developer, I don't know if they essentially just made this movie to try to promote their game because it was like some VR game or some shit like that. And movies have done this before. Like just they have a game coming out, so they'll drop a half-assed movie to promote that game, like Assassin's Creed, Prince of Persia. With stars. You had Jake Gyllenhaal in the Prince of Persia, the Michael Fassbender Assassin's Creed, but. No, yeah. Like you said, I can definitely see the DNA of like the wit, the humor is it's almost too much in Werewolves Within, but I see it's more refined in this one, and like it's fitting in this movie. Like the moments always case in point, the opening. I think the opening of this movie kind of lays out the vibe of what you're going to get through this entire thing, and it nails it perfectly. Between what is it? The wedding, the dude proposes to the chick, and then it's like reciting the vows, and then it's like she's mouthing them because she gave him.
That's like my favorite gag in the movie. Just like she set the whole thing up. I've told you everything to say for this proposal, and she's sitting there lipping the words that he said. So funny to me. What up, Rogue? Or wait, Rogue wrote this on fucking Sunday when we were about to roll, my brother, and then Leap. What's going on? It says booty, 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 rocking everywhere. Booty, 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 rocking everywhere.
Rocking everywhere.
Is that in this? Am I tripping?
I don't think it was. I don't remember it. It had a lot of talk about. But speaking of songs, I loved they had a lot of great like love pop culture songs in here. They opened with a classic Lone Star. What was it? Not Amazed by You, is it? everything inside me. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out the melody.
That one?
Yeah, yes.
The I like what you said like that. Do you feel, and I'm not even saying this is a negative because I like the opening so much, but it's almost the goofiest part of the movie. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's almost the
Yeah.
most like it seems like a little bit like it's a different movie. Like the
Yeah.
rest of the movie has sillier moments. I mean, it has silly moments, but there's something a little bit more silly about that opening scene. It's just like the girl, the way they're acting and everything. Not that it's a negative. To
No,
me,
no, no.
it hooks me in and it engages me, but it is different.
It seems like you said, it's way goofier than anything else we get in the movie. Like it's almost played as it is played as a joke, you know,
Right.
but like there's humorous. We'll get into the rom-com aspects, but there's moments in this movie that don't feel like it. Almost felt the opening scene felt aware. You know, it was like
Mhm.
I don't want to say satire, but I'm wondering if they use, because I know sometimes films will have to shoot like a little short film or like a proof of concept, and I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that the opening scene was like what they were trying to sell the studios to get it made.
I
Maybe, you know,
could totally see that. That would make tons of sense. It's
yeah,
just something a little bit different about it, but instantly I was into it. And then like I would say comparing it to The Gorge. When we talked about The
yes,
Gorge, and we won't spoil that for anyone, recent Apple TV movie, one of our criticisms of it is it was an action movie, it was a love story, it was a comedy, it was all these different things, and they didn't really nail any of them. I think, tell me if you agree with this. I feel like this is like it leans heavier into the love story than like the most horror comedy love
yes,
stories. You know what I mean? It's like
absolutely.
you could take this. You kind of alluded to saying something along these lines before I had even seen it, but like you could take the the horror element out of this. This could be a movie about like uh a race across town. We're on an egg hunt. We've got to, you know what I mean? Just like
Mm-hmm.
some
Yeah,
silly adventure where it's like, oh, we're on this I don't know, any number of things that aren't horror, and it would have worked because the core of it is the love
was
story, and
that
they focus
yes,
on it more than anything else. But I think it pulls off the horror really well. Really well. It's not like
yeah.
a super scary movie, but when it gets into like the suspense scenes, some of them are pretty goddamn suspenseful, I think. And the kills are not the best, but they're pretty damn good.
No, yeah, I wish you would where they lacked in like originality or brutality with the kill scenes. I will say
Mhm.
like the editing and that stuff was done really well. You know, I kind of, to your point, like the driving scene. That I thought that was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
kind of interesting. It didn't get as interesting as I wanted it to be, given that the circumstances. There was a lot of to play with. You could have had
Right.
some cool death scenes, or where he kind of the killer unleashes in that scene. But the idea of it and certain things that happen, I was like, okay, they was enticing enough. But once again, I it's not even a knock because I want to give the director credit because I feel like you stated earlier, this is such a step up from Werewolves Within. Like I was
Mhm.
almost shocked. I was like, no way, this is the same dude, you know, like
Josh
to the
Rubin, I
point.
should say. His name Josh Rubin. I don't think I
Josh Rubin's
mentioned it
director.
earlier. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. But like, I would love to see this be a new franchise, you know,
Mhm.
and like a Scream. I don't think I could see that with Werewolves Within, even though it was a
Yeah.
fine movie in itself. But I don't know. There's just because he did use pop culture song The Werewolves Within, but like you said earlier, there's just something more punchier about this movie. The
Right.
script, he's just on point the entire movie. Maybe it's the script writers as well. Probably big ups to them, but
Mhm. You know
no,
what?
yeah,
An example for me of it just being punchy. You remember when she's at the cop shop and that one, like the heavy set cop is taking her information down, but she's doing a crossword puzzle. And she's like a 5-letter word for dog. She says, bitch, excuse me. And that's
yeah,
just like it's a total throwaway joke. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just a gag, but it's like there's a lot of that. Like, oh, we've got 5 seconds to spare. Let's throw a joke in here. Like a lot of funny moments constantly.
to that point, you do you remember with Devin Sawa and Jordana Brewster? I think it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
fucking both. I don't think they advertised them in the trailers at all. If they did, I
Mm.
didn't peep them. But because I was a shock to see them when they showed up as their police officers. but they've both were like in their own respected like horrors in the 90s. Like Devon
Right.
Sawa was fucking everywhere. Jordana
Everywhere.
Brewster, The Faculty,
Yeah.
classic.
I didn't even
But
know with Devon Sawa when I was watching. I think I was talking to you recently about this when I was watching Chucky, the new series,
mhm,
because he plays multiple roles in it. In the first
that's
season,
what I
he's the
heard.
dude's dad and he's the uncle. He dies. Both those characters die. He comes back in the second season as a priest, and in the third season, he's the president.
Said president.
And I
Dude,
didn't realize that he's the kid from Idle Hands. He's the
yes.
main kid from the first Final Destination. And then here's
Casper,
the
bro.
okay, so you just blew my mind. Maybe I can
Oh,
blow
I'm
yours.
sorry.
Little Giants. Do you know he's like the main like bad
The
kid
the
from Little
ba-
Giants?
the dude that helps them out, that helps the little giants out, like the
He's like you remember there's Rick Moranis, and then Rick Moranis's brother is the head coach of the other team, and they're
yeah,
like the
I was it
dickheads.
the Bundy.
He's the dickhead brother's son.
Oh, the ace of that. Oh
Yeah.
no
Yeah. I was like,
way.
I didn't know who the guy was at all. But then I'm like, oh my God, like he's in everything. He's in fucking everything. He doesn't do
Wow.
much in this, but it's cool. It's cool. Like you said, he's in there. Jordan Brewster from Fast and the Furious franchise and the Faculty. And then the main guy, whose name is Mason Gooding, of course, from Scream. Now, do you know where you know Olivia Holt from? The main actress in this?
You know what? I had to I know she was in a few things because I looked this up. I was like, why does she look so familiar? But it was um Cloak and Dagger or Runaways. Runaways. She
Oh,
was
I don't know. I don't know her from that stuff. I kind of figured you would know her from other things, actually.
yeah, she
She's the mom in Totally Killer. When they go back in time,
oh
she's the
back
bitch mom. Isn't that
bro,
crazy?
you know
And
what?
she's so different in that. But I think
Yo,
I
yeah.
remember pointing out like how great she was. What up, chill out, man? My brother, what's happening, dude? She's great in that. She's great in this. Like the cast is awesome. Love the
Oh
cast.
yes. Real quick, I was to the witty humor. I was gonna say when they introduced the cops and she's like, their last names are like Hobbs and Shaw, and she's like the movies, and I'm like,
Yeah.
never heard of them, they just brush it
Yeah.
off. But there's a
I
lot of
didn't even
moments like that.
I didn't even put it together that Hobbs and Shaw was part of the Fast franchise until just now, and that she's part of it. So, duh, duh. It is funny. Yes,
She's
chill. I would say 100% you should watch both of them, and both of them we're
worth
not
it.
going to spoil until a certain. We won't spoil the main twists without giving you a spoiler warning in case you don't want to know. I would say, and we'll get to it. My only issue, and we'll just tease this for now. My only issue is the reveal. Like I was like, oh, okay. It's not the worst thing ever, but it could have. That's
Yeah.
like the only real downside to this whole movie, I would say. Because for the most
I,
part,
I
I love it.
No, yeah, because I feel you on that. It's like without saying too much, I was expecting more of a deeper twist, I guess. Like it's
Mhm.
there, but when the reveal happens, I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. But I don't know. It was kind of like I thought it was going to be, like I said, a deeper connection. It was kind of wrong case, wrong time, wrong place, wrong
Right,
time situation. Like if he
right.
had just been somewhere else half a second or done something else, it would have been somebody else that this played out on.
If it wasn't for that kiss,
Yes, the kiss of death. But I'm. How would you? Okay, how would you? So okay, within the movie, the Hard Eyes is the name of the serial killer, nationally known serial killer. But how would you continue the sequel? Like, how would you
mm.
say? Like,
What I think is cool about it, and this is what I was thinking when you said this could be a franchise, is like, yeah, just because what's different than Werewolves Within, and I know a lot of people probably haven't seen that. We're comparing it to this movie that me and you and Stu have seen. That's a fucking about it. But there's no like masked killer in that. You can't make a toy.
right,
There's no
right,
Werewolves
yes,
Within merch, but you could totally have Hard Eyes merch, and you could put anybody in the mask. So you could either have Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding involved, or you couldn't. You could do whatever you want with it, which I think is
I
cool.
could see that.
You could have someone else just take up the mantle of Hard Eyes, which I could have mentioned at the beginning. It's a really simple premise. He just kills, or they just kill. Maybe we don't know. Is there one or two? We'll find out. Uh, just kill lovers. That's the
Yep.
thing. It's a kink that they're into, and they see people that are in love and they kill them. So it's like, well, shit. you could put that on anybody. You're right. You could make 100 movies out of this, and
And
it's done well. It's doubled its budget from the box office, so it's
did
clearly
it?
doing well. It's got a really high Rotten Tomato, so yeah, it's
I'm
doing really
glad to
well.
hear that. I'm like when I see, I don't know. I guess that's just like the trajectory for like movies, not because even like big blockbusters will be, depending on the one, will be on streaming within like a month after it comes in
Mhm.
theaters now. So like I know I had seen these came to like streaming quite quick. So
Yeah, yeah, both of them are video on demand right now, which is I think that's probably how we're gonna roll with this show, which eventually we will be branding something proper, but it is the plan. We're at least gonna get together, you and I, for people out there, once a month to talk about the movies 2025 releases. And that
yeah,
is the way I plan on doing. As soon as they hit video on demand, is hopefully when we'll get a
then
chance
we
to
cover.
talk about them.
I'm so for that.
But I also
Oh
just to touch on what you were saying earlier, like I think these are like the two best horror movies of the year so far that I've seen. I haven't
yes,
seen Presence, which I think it's David Soderbergh. I haven't really heard much about that either way, but the Gorge was just okay for me. And the other one I wanted to mention that I did see was The Monkey. I haven't been hearing what other people have been saying about it, but I was pretty fucking underwhelmed by The Monkey.
I've heard divisive things, and that always worries me. You know, I'd rather hear like I don't know, because it's like with it, when it's so divisive, you're like depending on who it is, and it's like, oh my god, I don't know how to gauge this movie. I truly have to see it for myself. I guess that's a
Mhm.
good thing. But when it's made, you're like, okay, I'll get around to seeing that. You know, I'll get it. Okay, you know, I could find probably more enjoyment out of it than the average person or something.
Right.
Um, but real quick, I want to say the look, because you were talking about merch, and
Mhm.
I love the look of Hard Eyes. It's so simple but effective at the same time. Like there's really nothing crazy to him. It's almost like he's got Neo's outfit from Matrix One, and
Right.
then with the damn mask, and that's it. But it's cool, you know. He like when he whips out the blade, pulling it like he whips back the lower half of his jacket. But it's just very stylish, very cool looking. So I would totally buy a figure.
I
All right.
and I also just like not just like the eyes on the mask, but the mask itself, how
Mm-hmm.
it looks hard, right? Like it looks like it's like
Yes,
like
yes, you get knocked.
it would be solid, but then it's just all like cracked and worn, and yeah, it's a pretty badass looking mask for a killer with hearts for eyes. It looks pretty
Yeah,
tough.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know
That
what I
could be.
mean?
That's what I'm saying. That shit could easily be really, really corny, and they make this. It's effective, so I respect that.
Six Deuce, what up, my brother? My brother. How we doing, man? Appreciate you being here. Huff hearted. I don't know. Says fellas and smellers, happy hump day. Six Deuce, I wanted to point out to you because I'm pretty fucking sure you're the one that sent it to me, right? Robbie and I are planning to get together and do Don't Look Now together at one point because I did finally send him the copy that you sent me. So we both have a copy, and we're going to get together in the next couple months, and we're going to talk about that. So
What is this? Some Giallo film?
no,
Sometime.
it's like a 1972 film with David Sutherland in it. It's like this weird. Is it a ghost story? Is it not? It's cool.
Okay.
It's a cool ass movie. It's got super high Rotten Tomatoes, but it's also like really fucking slow at the same time. But it's a slow burn, old school. We were talking about like some of the first elevated horror movies, and it would fit in
Yes.
that
Okay.
category as like a
Okay.
70s elevator horror. You see a David Sutherland naked, crying like a baby. It's fucking crazy. Donald, thank you, Donald Sutherland. Thank you, man. And Julie Christie. Um, uh, he says you said that last time. It's true. Now Robbie actually has it. Now he has it. Um, so let's talk about the ending. Let's give a spoiler alert for Hard Eyes for the ending, and we'll talk about the ending. Then we'll rate this bad boy and move on to Companion. Here's my issue with it. Here's my issue when they do the reveal again. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! It first of all, it's kind of cool that it's like a half hour left in the movie, and they do like the
Yeah.
false ending. They're like, "Oh, here's the
You can.
reveal, and it's all over," and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, clearly it's not over, but it made it feel like, oh god, this movie's flying by. It's
Yep.
already over. But when we finally do get the reveal, let me say it like this: when they're back at the police station earlier, and that tech guy, I think he's Asian, he comes up to her
Mhm.
and he asks her on a date. I'm like, if this fucker is the killer, like, I'm gonna be super disappointed. I'm like, clearly they're trying to make you think that he's the killer or something. I'm like, he's
There's
definitely
something going on.
something with this guy because he just popped in. He's out of fucking nowhere, and it's the
Yeah.
only time you see him. And then it comes back later. It's like, yep, he was the killer. And then the whole time I'm suspicious of Brewster. What's her? Yeah, Jordan Brewster.
Yeah.
She's the cop. I'm like, she's super fucking weird. She's acting strange. She's not acting like a cop. So I was very suspicious of her. And there was nobody else that I really thought it could be because they kind of went out of their way to show you that it wasn't the boyfriend, Mason Gooding.
Yeah.
Unless he had a partner, which I guess it could have been. But so I was like, fuck, that kind of sucks. The reveal was the biggest disappointment for me. Didn't hate it, didn't ruin the movie, but it was like, oh, that could have been way better.
Yeah, way more effective. You know, because it's funny you bring the jailhouse scene up or the police station scene because when he stopped and was talking to her, it's like he's got something connected. He's going. There's something with him because they just lingered on. I don't know if they lingered on him for too enough of a second because it was like the last thing he said to her, and then he walked out the door. I was like, what was the point in that? You know, like that has to. Clearly, that was trying to set up because it's almost like it was an afterthought. And they're like, let's throw a scene in here to kind of because it's like had that scene not happened and he just was the guy they pulled the mask off of, you know, when they were like, oh, who's this rando, you know?
It's kind of along the lines of Mrs. Loomis in Scream 2. But Scream 2 does it way better because then once you go back and watch the movie, you're like, oh my God, she is everywhere. She's all over the movie, but she's totally a side character. But just like if you're comparing it to Scream 2, not just that you see her multiple times, but she has way more of a reason to be there. You can just like, she doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. It's like, why is this person in the movie? And that really did. So that was, I mean, I think it was as good as the movie is written. Like that was really, really like a clunky red herring reveal.
I'm almost wondering if the whole Polly thing was like a afterthought because it's like in the beginning, like in terms of Jordana Brewster, they had or whatever, but not Brewster is it? I think they when they're exploring her and Demisawa exploring the first kill scene in the opening, they make a comment and be like he did this and this, and she's like, you're assuming if that was a guy, you know, and it's like she's saying that because she's the killer, you know, so it's like they did it with her. They did fine with like the setups. It was just like the other guy. There's like why I'm almost inclined to think that maybe it would have been better if it was two, like her and just one more partner, and they offed him at the movie theater, and then she just has that's her reason to get even more payback towards the end. There's just something very cheap about the other dude that you know is just.
It would give her a good, you know how like they always go, and they didn't do too bad of a job of it in this, but how the killers always go crazy once they're revealed. That would have given her good motivation to then become unhinged by the end in the reveal. And you killed my lover and blah blah blah.
Yep. This isn't going. This isn't how it's supposed to go. Our plan was, you know, So I don't know what I don't know. That kind of that dude just kind of seems like he was tacked on for a twist. You know, like wouldn't this be extra? Or what? Imagine if it wasn't just two people in a relationship. It was maybe more than two.
What if one of them was Asian? Dun dun dun, and a tech guy. Oh no! I did want to mention a couple different things. I wanted to ask you. I know we're going to wrap this up in a minute, move on to companion, but we didn't really touch much on Mason Gooding, and I just wanted to bring up what you and I were talking about on the side is just like. It's like, what is different about this guy?
Fucking grew up.
From Scream to now, the boy has become a man. I'm looking and I get, he is 28 years old, but the dude did a lot of growing up between, especially like from the first Scream. I don't remember him being that fucking manly and that like.
No, that's what I'm saying. He had like extreme leading man vibes in this movie, and then it's like in Scream, I would have never gotten that from him. You know, he was playing. So I was like, man, my man is actually like he's leveled up. He's become a man. He can carry his own because he was super charming in this fucking movie, bro. Like he, you know, I almost want to say he stole the show, to be quite honest, because he had all the funny moments and shit. Like, you know, when they have him in the back of the car and he's like, oh, thanks a lot as they're like driving away and shit. You know what? I'm curious what other people thought as in terms of them trying to set him up as the killer, because I
Mhm.
never once, I know they tried or kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I never
Right.
once for a second thought he was the killer.
I'll put it like this, and I think this is like one of the best compliments you could pay the movie. Is I was sitting there like, if this fucker is the killer, I'm gonna be so bummed out because I was so into the love story. I was like, oh,
Yes.
don't do that to her. And then
Yes.
when he leaves and he gets in the car with the cop, I'm like, dude, if you she's hot, bro, but
Yeah.
if you bang her,
Don't-
you're cut. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And that says a lot. Like I did not want that relationship to go south. And that's
Mm-hmm.
like one of the best compliment you could pay this movie. It's really
Yeah. Well
top
said.
notch. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think like if this the best Valentine's Day horror movie ever? Like a lot of people say, "Oh, what the fuck, My Bloody Valentine." It's like sure, fine, it does its things. It's like it's kind of a different thing,
It's a
obviously,
different beast. Yeah.
80s slasher, but there's no love story in it. You're making a love story about a Valentine's. Are you
Yes.
making a Valentine's Day movie and you don't have a significant love story? I guess
Yeah.
they
That's
did.
not the thing.
They did the three-way thing, but it doesn't even compare to this.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about their relationship like I do in this one. Johnny
Yeah.
recaps, my brother. What's happening, man? Appreciate you popping in, Johnny.
But no, I think it is for me the definitive Valentine's Day horror movie, just because I can't think of any. Because I'm thinking of the shit I always for Cupid with Angel David Bronet, the
I
dude from
think
Buffy.
I think is that Valentine?
Valentine, yes,
Yeah,
Valentine. But he wears like a fucking Cupid mask. That's why I always get it mixed up. But that I haven't seen that in years. I remember thinking it was okay as a kid, but I don't know if
right.
it's aged well. But that before that, this nails the theme, like you were saying. This has love, but it does both well. It's like it's not crazy horror, but the horror it's done well, it's stylish, edited well. It's very tense in certain moments, but then
Mhm.
you got the love story, which is just exceptionally well. Like you said, you're rooting for that relationship to
Mhm.
continue. You want to see these two. It's like it's a weird amalgamation of like horror and rom-com, and I've never seen that done before, to be
Right.
honest. So
Especially
that's
I'm sure that they're out there that neither of us are thinking of, like
yeah.
really good love stories in horror movies. But this one to like make that the focus. You remember? I'll put it like this. You remember when she runs off, like she's gonna. They act like they're gonna do the super tropey airport scene. I've got to catch him at the airport. I'm gonna chase him down and stop him from getting on the plane. And I'm sitting there and I'm like kind of smiling at it. I'm like, that's stupid, but I can't believe they're going there. But I'm totally here for it. I wasn't mad that it
You,
looked like they were gonna do that.
a cheesy scene that really I was just like, yes,
Yeah.
was in the drive-in scene where they're like starting to run away, but she stops and he's like, "What are you doing? Come on, we gotta go." She's like, "No, we made this happen. We have to be the ones to stop it." And they start playing some cheesy fucking 80s love song, and they like hold hands and
Yeah.
they're walking together in slow motion. But it worked, bro. Like
Right.
it had me grinning. I was like, this cheesy
I love
shit,
what
bro.
they do after that with the tire iron. They got the tire iron shoved in this man's mouth. It's like
Oh
the
yeah.
goriest scene that we see in the movie, and they make it this like love moment where they have to both grab the tire iron to untwist his face. I thought that was great. Oh, I wanted to mention
Yeah.
this before I forget. The her boss. Were you like me trying to figure out who her boss was the whole time?
Yes, like where have I seen her before? I almost thought it
Chachi,
was
my dog Chachi. That's her from Werewolves Within. She's the crazy lady. Yeah, she's like
no.
the conservative lady looking for her dog.
I'll kill you. No, I won't. Maybe. Yeah.
Or Willa. She's great in
Oh,
the movie.
yeah.
That's the other thing. We just talked about a movie not that long ago. Not that these side characters are like they have a lot of characteristics or like not a lot of happens to them. But
Right.
all the actors in the performances, like in a lesser movie, they would all be throwaway, who gives a shit performances. But
Mhm.
in this one, they're all good. And if
Even
they're not,
best friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, she's fantastic. I think. Yeah, I kind of wish
She,
that she had maybe tied back into it at some point because she's kind of significant enough to where she could
yes.
have maybe played a bigger role. But I also wasn't mad at that. The
Or been
other,
at least a part of yeah, I wasn't mad at it, but yes, I would have liked to see her shit in the sequel. Maybe she can be more involved, like maybe there's more to that, the killers.
she could
Maybe
be the
there's
lead. She could be the
oh
lead in the sequel.
yeah.
It could happen to her because she's that good. Yeah.
Oh,
And she's cute enough to make it happen. Not that you have to be, but to be a lead in Hollywood, you probably do.
you gotta be attractive.
Um, the vibrator. As far as funny moments, I loved that. I love the way they played it. Just like the way they played it was so perfect. She's got the vibrator in her hand. He's sitting on the bed. She's got to hide it from him. She's going to the closet, and you're like, what's going to happen? You know, this vibrator, she's not just going to hide it, and it's not going to be a thing. I did not expect her to then turn around and chuck the vibrator off Hard Eyes' fucking face.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many brilliant moments in this movie where it's like they're playing on that's a brilliant moment because it's playing on a rom-com trope of them inviting the date over and trying to hide something uncomfortable, and then it bleeds right into this fucking a horror moment that we see quite often where the killer's just kind of waiting for them to be vulnerable, waiting until they fucking open the closet door to pop out at them. And it was just like there's like I was saying, this movie has there might be others out there, but I don't know if they blend and bleed as well like the way this movie does, where it's like, because that's pure humor and it goes straight into this attention-filled moment like that perfectly. Like, yes, like it's hard to do.
Hell yeah. Super well said. Mila Kunis. Does this chick sound like Mila Kunis to you? Did that ever cross your, like, just like her raspy voice? Sounds like she put out her fucking Marlboro before each scene. I liked it. She just gives me like new age. No, the main character.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I was so thrown off by her because I didn't realize I had seen her, and she had a familiar face while I was watching it, but it was like I didn't look up her IMDb or whatever until afterwards. I was like, oh, that's where I've seen her from. But she kind of reminded me of like Mila Kunis mixed with Jennifer Lawrence. I hate to mix her like that.
I can see that. By the way, just a fun fact: Christopher Landon was a producer on this. So Christopher Landon, Happy Death Day to You. What's the other one that he did that's along those lines?
Did he do the Freaky movies or
yes, Freaky. So this falls like right. Horror comedy slasher. Yeah. It's like this fits his bill a lot, right? Seems like he's the one who been his movie.
He's directing the next Scream, right?
No, he was signed on to do it, and then now it's going to be Kevin Williamson, the guy that.
Okay. I can respect that.
I think we done did it, brother. Let's go ahead and rate this bad boy, and then we'll jump into companion, and we'll find out which one we like better. So you guys in the chat, if you guys have seen Hard Eyes, let us know your score out of 5 down below. What say you, Missing Link?
Man, I'm trying to give this a very, I don't know. I know there's a little bias that's going to play into this, but it's not a perfect movie. Any movie we see isn't really perfect, but I don't see how anyone could walk away from this and not have some semblance of a good time, whether it's like the cute moments or like the cool horror, like there's some cool stuff going on in this shit. I'll give it I know this is probably a hyperbole. I'll give it 4.75 because I'm pressed to really think about what it's like, what I don't like about this movie. I think the performances, the editing, like it could have been a little bit gorier, yes, but I think the fact that the balancing act of the rom-com stuff with the horror could have easily been a Frankenstein mesh of like that tonally doesn't fit or that's weird, but never noticed in this movie, so I respect that to the fullest, and I'm glad they took the chance. I respect people go swing for the fences, so I'll give 4.75.
Hell yeah, I love it. I'm gonna go 4.5. I'm really torn because I fucking love the movie. I agree with absolutely everything you said. Even as far as the gore, I think it's enough. You know what I mean? I think it's enough for a movie like this. Rom-com. You don't want to. You remember like when the two? I assume this is rated R. Let me check real quick because I am curious.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Right, I think it's got to be actually. Yeah, it's rated R. In that scene with the two people like having sex in the back of the van, like they don't show the breasts, right?
Yeah.
And not that you need them, but there is something like the movie, like Werewolves Within, it doesn't have like an edge to it. But it doesn't necessarily need that edge. It's just like it not having the edge, you not seeing her tits allows it to be more mainstream. Allows it to where some parents are gonna let their 12-year-old watch it, and it's not that big of a deal because a little bit more. And I'm totally okay with that. They do
Yeah.
enough. They do enough to where it's for adults. It's enough for the adults, but you're gonna let some fucking teenagers watch this, and it's gonna be fine too, which is cool.
Like, this is a great entry point film. It's like this. I could see this turning some people into horror fans, not directly,
Mhm.
but like if they're kind of a little apprehensive about the medium, they kind of watch this like, okay, horror can be fun. It's not always
Right.
something super tense. And the gateway right there. Like I said, like I think 4.5. I think we're being very generous with even 4.5,
Oh no,
4.75.
for sure. Oh, I wanted to clear. I was even thinking this before, like just to say, because I knew I was gonna rate it high. You know this, but this is like for the audience. The way I write shit, I think the way you do, it's like this is a 4.5. The Exorcist is a 5. Is the Exorcist only 0.5 better than this? No, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm rating this against like Scream and
Yes.
Werewolves Within and like
The
things
movies
that
that
it would fit
yeah.
in line, slasher horror comedies. And
Is it
I for
naming
one love horror comedies. I know you do too. Some people
my favorite?
aren't as into it, but I love them. So for to me, it's
Because I don't think people. I mean, to each their own. Like what you like, but I don't think people understand how hard that balancing act is to pull off.
mhm.
To make something that's supposed to be scary and tension filled, but funny at the same time. Or
And
even visually
you could do it
grotesque.
without having it be scary. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
easy to
Yeah.
like I'll even say like Happy Death Day, movies that we love. The And I
That's
might disagree with this if I were to rewatch it, but I feel like the suspense that you get in this is couple steps ahead of Happy Death Day, or like the
oh yeah.
majority of horror comedies. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt it the way that I did or not, but like in a few of those
No.
moments, I'm like, this is pretty fucking scary out of nowhere. Like it
No. Yeah.
goes from really funny to like, oh, it's all of a sudden like super tense.
No, you're spot on, bro. Like seriously, like Happy Death Day and stuff like that. Or there, there's more. It's more energetic, fun. But like I said, that bedroom scene with the dildo, because it's like, oh shit, it's like it comes out of nowhere. It goes from like this funny moment to the dildo scene. But no, I don't know. I no, I definitely see what you mean. That there's like I said, I think it kind of plays into the fact that Hard Eyes was so visually not super intimidating, but intimidating enough where it's
Right.
like, had they not set up certain shots well enough, I don't think maybe he wouldn't have come off as intimidating. But there's like,
Mhm.
they were utilizing the horror tropes as just as much as they were doing the rom-com stuff.
Totally.
Like I said, balance and act.
For sure,
But
dude.
no, yeah.
The last thing I want to mention before we move on to Companion is just after the scene where she throws the vibrator off his head and then they're running out the door, and then they do the flashback to the vibrator. Something so funny about that. Fucking hysterical. But again, and I just want to reiterate one more time her name, Olivia Holt. Mason Gooding, I agree with you. Like, I think he could be fucking Superman. That's what I sent you. The dude could
Yep.
play Superman. That says a lot. He could be leading man, superhero, even fucking Superman. But Olivia Holt, I think is fantastic as far as like her performance and like the actual acting and how funny she is. Like
Hmm.
she's funny, man. I thought.
No, yeah, yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I can't say it any better than you. Like that, I don't, this, I don't, I think everyone just really nailed their parts
Yeah.
so well. That's
Which says a lot about the director. Again, his name, Josh Rubin. Josh Rubin, who has a
looks like it.
movie coming out. His next project that he's doing is a horror sci-fi thing. It doesn't say comedy, but I have a feeling it's going to be a comedy. I had it written down somewhere.
Oh,
Where is it? Where is it?
definitely check that out.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, Green Bank. So keep an eye out for that. The next one he's doing says sci-fi horror called Green Bank. That's all I know about it.
Okay.
But all right, man, a 4.5 from me, a 4.75 from you, and we will move on now to Companion. Again, this one also from 2025, horror sci-fi, directed by Drew Hancock, starring Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid, Megan Surrey, Lucas Gage, Rupert Friend, and Harvey Guillen. I'll pronounce that. Now this is the one that I was probably even more looking forward to. I expected to like, and it's kind of how it worked. I was expected to be like really entertained by Hard Eyes. I knew that was going to be almost like a can't miss thing, especially because you had seen it first, and I could tell that you dug it. I knew I was going to be into that. Companion, I was like, just from the vibe I was getting, like this might be like a classic, like a fucking like a 5. Like it's great. Here's my biggest issue with it. Here's what I don't like about it. Here's the plot for people out there. The plot is there's a sex robot, or not a sex robot. I guess I was about to repeat what Jack Quaid says. I don't like to use the term fuckbot, but because you do so much more than that. I love the way he delivers that line. But basically, Jack Quaid has this robot, this female robot played by Sophie Thatcher, who we just saw in Heretic. Not Sister Pax and Sister Barnes in there, and then she's in Yellow Jacket, and she's fantastic in both.
Oh yeah, she's a badass chick.
Oh, yeah, she's a robot in this, and I like that they call her a robot. They don't call her like a synthetic human or anything else. They're just like call her a robot. She doesn't know that she is, and this dude's whole plan is to have her commit this murder for him, and then put it off on her. So that's the basic gist of the thing. And it's another one that's a love story too. Oh no, as I see Madison making her way back here. We'll see how this goes. But here's my issue with it, man. My only fucking issue. I wish that they didn't make the posters showing that she's a goddamn robot. I don't watch previews, as you know.
Yes.
But like even in the posters, you can see her eyes whited out. And at that point, I put it together. Oh, companion. And she must be a companion robot. Now, did you see the trailer to this?
I did see the trailer, but it was sometimes I'll see a trailer and it's like it's a one and done, and I have like a vague or faint memory of something, and I was like, oh, so she's a robot, all right. And so going into the movie, I was like, it kind of had me confused because I was like, okay, so in the trailer I thought she knew she was a robot, but I was like, from the opening of the movie, first couple, I'd say like 15-20 minutes, they play with that idea, and but I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, does something happen to her and she gets turned into a robot?
Right. That would have been interesting. Well, that's kind of my issue with it, dude. Like, I love the movie. I think it's awesome. I think it's funny. It's cute. The acting is fantastic. A lot of the things we said about the last one, not as funny, but the whole cast I think is fantastic. A big fan of the direction of the movie, the look of it, the vibe, everything. But like, I kept thinking, like, God, this would be so much better if I didn't know she was a robot.
Yes,
because they're making like little clever things. Like she says a line like, "Well, I'm just not built that way," and I'm like, "Ha." Yeah. But like, it would have been cooler to enjoy on a second watch, not knowing things like that. It was just too obvious that was a twist. Now, luckily, the twist comes within the first like 25 minutes.
Yeah,
it wasn't like you're going to learn that at the end of the movie. So I'll give them credit for that, and it is not dependent on that twist at all. You're still going to enjoy it and everything. I just think it would have. That's probably my biggest downside. But what's your overall thoughts, bro?
No, I loved it. I do agree with you, just because I did find myself thinking, I was like, why spend the 20 minutes trying to trick almost like you're trying to trick the audience, like, hey, here's a reveal, she's actually a robot. Yes, man. But and it's like when you already kind of advertised that in the trailer, I thought that was a peculiar choice. Maybe it was like the editing or the trailer editors gave too much away. I don't know. I felt like they could have edited the trailer so you're like, okay, this is going to be some weird like horror sci-fi romance movie, but you're not entirely sure what's going on. You just know it's a cat and mouse thing, and then save the android reveal for the actual movie. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't kind of take me out of the movie for a second when I was like, why spend so long trying to tell us she's not an android when we know she's an android going into this,
So I think you already said it, but clearly I'm a little bit distracted. They do make it clear in the trailer that she's a robot. Like you know for sure in the trailer, right?
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember exactly, but I went into this movie knowing she's a cyborg or a robot. So when they open with the 20 minutes of trying to flirt with the idea that maybe she's not, I'm like, so that's why the idea came to my head. I was like, maybe she dies and they turn people into robots because
I like that idea.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
And don't be wrong, not that, like I said, that's my only issue. Is that we already knew it. Like, it is cool. It's a great premise. Like, she didn't need to be anything other than just a regular ass robot for it to work. I would say as far as like just my overall thoughts, there's something about her that I just love. We mentioned it when we did Heretic. Like she acts with her lips. She says a lot by just like awkwardly
Very
moving her
subtle.
fucking lips around very subtly, and she's just mastered that. She's so cool. She puts off like a good vibe, and I always have liked what's his name, Jack Quaid.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Jack Quaid. What's his dad's name? Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis
We have the
Quaid.
same. Well, not the same. He's a Cancer. I think it's like July 15th around there. But
I love him. I love the entire cast, dude. I wanted to say, I'm pulling him up now. Oh, did you recognize? I always ask you. I always like to tease you with it. Did you recognize where you knew the heavyset gay fella from? Did you recognize him? It's gonna blow your mind.
was he in Werewolves Within?
He's in fucking Werewolves.
No, was he? Oh no! I'm just piecing that together.
It's so funny. I'm like, oh my god, he's another one, or this is another movie. Like we mentioned. I know, baby girl. You should keep doing it. Sophie Thatcher, she's got all this horror cred. Jack Quaid was in Scream 5, and then
Scream
the other robot, which is another cool reveal. I thought that was a good reveal that we don't find out that Patrick is a robot until later on. But he's the guy from Scream or from Smile 2 that smashes the fucking weight up. That to me, if I hadn't seen that, I wouldn't be as impressed with him as I am because he's so different in this. And I remember like seeing I'm not very familiar with the guy. His name is Lucas Gage, but like watching the special features for Smile 2, just the way people were talking about him, I'm like, oh, this is a guy to look out for. Like people were just like, oh, Lucas Gage is amazing. He's always going to do something incredible. Yeah, he really, really is. He was awesome in this because he basically plays two characters in this.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, I even credit both Lucas Gage and Sophie Thatcher because there's certain moments where it's just like they're frozen, and they come back with like a different, like an emotional tone or beat just out of nowhere, and it's wild to watch. So I'm reminded.
The time that Sophie Thatcher does it, when like she's asleep and she wakes up in mid panic, like from where she left off before, that's really impressive, like amazing.
It gave me it's James McAvoy is a master, but it was reminiscent of like Split vibes, with them going in and out of emotional beats. But dang, Lucas Gage, he was in that one, the Fight Club, not the Jake Gyllenhaal did on Amazon, like the year or two ago.
The
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Yes, yeah, okay. I've seen him in a few things. Yeah.
Well, I saw like he's in a lot. He was in Euphoria. He's in The White Lotus. He's in a lot of popular TV shows that I haven't seen, from the looks of it.
Making it come up though.
Yeah.
Dang, that's so weird that the Werewolves Within guy was in this, and then we were covering the movie by a guy who directed that. 6 Degrees, bro.
This is like a whole advertisement from Werewolves Within. Go check it out, people. It's fun. You'll enjoy
it. No, because it was like when we were covering Werewolves Within, I think that was around the time that Hard Eyes was coming out, and I was like, oh, we were kind of already interested in it, and then come to go figure that the dude was directing that. So I was like, wow, there's a lot of 6 degrees separation going on. I'll enjoy that. Cool. Okay, here's a question for you. Which cast did you? All right. So there wasn't a rom-com thing going on here, but I get they are doing different things. But would you say that you enjoyed it? Yeah. It's about someone she has to find herself. I would say they have more chemistry in Hard Eyes, I think, but I feel like you had more vetted actors, I guess, in this one. I guess you would say.
I would agree. I think that's a really good way to put it, because there's no two characters in this other than maybe the other couple, the gay couple, where they really have a lot of like chemistry or just like the need to have chemistry, a lot of like back and forth conversations. But I agree. I think the actors in this are kind of a step up. The other ones is just kind of fit perfectly for that movie and work together as an ensemble. But this is a smaller cast too. It's basically just these 4 or 5 characters 4 of them, the majority of the movie were just a little bit tossed in there on the side. But who'd you like better?
I maybe hard. Sophie Thatcher's my girl, though. I think she was amazing in this. I enjoyed the chemistry of Hard Eyes, but I think Sophie Thatcher was just phenomenal in this. One thing I did appreciate was like they were like doing a flip. There was like the movie's cat and mouse game essentially, but it's like they almost flip it at one point where it's like you think they should be afraid of like Sophie Thatcher the robot, but it's like really them hunting her.
Right. Yep. That is cool.
It was a cool flip on the head, and there's I don't know. One thing I will say, another thing. Visually, I thought it was there's some cool moments that they were playing with, like when she gets her control pad and she's like changing her colors of her iris and her voice modulator and stuff like that. Really fucking cool.
I love when I thought like one of the more clever bits in the movie was Madison, I know you have a Batman leg. I know. Batman's leg. Dude, what the fuck?
Ooh.
Sorry, I shouldn't be cussing in front of the child. I know, poor Batman leg. When she changes her voice to match his, that was so
in the
cool.
car scene.
That was so smart. That was such a cool thing. And also just the idea of like, oh, you get to set the intelligence for your robot. And then when she looks at it, she's like, really? You had me set it 40%. And then when she cranks it up to 100, this is just cool ideas. Like really, really cool ideas. She's changing the language that she speaks and everything
No, that was brilliant because it was like I forget the name of robotics laws, but she has to adhere to these laws where she can't implicitly hurt a human. She can't lie. She has to be honest. So there's a scene where she's on the run and this cop pulls up behind her and it's like she has to tell the truth no matter what. So it's like she changes her voice settings to like German or something. So it's like the subtitles. I didn't even
realize that's why she was doing it. I just thought like, oh, this will throw him off and confuse him. She could tell him the truth, but he wouldn't know it. That's brilliant, bro. I didn't even pick up
so my first watch, I think I was being a little busy, but I wasn't paying attention to the subtitles when she was speaking to him. But the second watch, I was watching it, and he's like, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" And she's like, "Yes, I do. I just can't tell the truth." So I've switched my voice. Like that was the subtitles of her like explaining, like I've changed my voice settings because I can't lie to you. So I changed my my language so you don't understand me. And he was like, "Do you speak English?" She's like, "Yeah." So it was there was a lot of cool little brilliant scenes, and it was weird because oh shit, sorry. They did a good job of making you feel for the android chick, which it's like
big time.
Which is weird, because I was rooting for her at the end of the day instead of humankind.
You know what? Did you pick up on what he calls her?
Bebop. Bebop.
Beep boop.
Beep boop. Beep boop. Yes.
Because she's a fucking robot. If you type in beep boop into your phone, it'll bring up a robot emoji, by the way. So that's like
no shit.
One of the codes to bring that out. I'm like, that's so funny, dude. Like beep boop, beep boop. I thought. Let me ask you this one thing, and I don't know. I could see this has maybe less universal appeal. There's something very, and not that a man can't enjoy a feminine movie, but there's something super feminine about this movie. Not necessarily like feminist, although there is like some feminist type themes and like women empowerment and women, I don't know, all that stuff. But like just the look of it, like she's wearing this soft pink. He's even wearing like a soft blue. She's so fucking pale. And like even the font for the movie Companion, like with that cursive that it uses, very, very feminine. And then all the music throughout it. Like it's a very, not always, but it's a very like quiet and chill movie. Like there's a lot of like really soft, soothing, kind of feminine, kind of delicate. There's like a delicateness to this entire movie, which is cool. It's just like, but I could see it kind of turning some people off where it's not like as like intense as it could be. If it was done differently, it would just be a little bit more like in your face or whatever. It's just like a soft movie.
Yeah, like it's like It's a romance version of. I mean, you get different versions of this idea, but like it reminded me of like Ex Machina, like a
Mhm.
horror romance version of Ex Machina. You know, it's essentially like a AI fighting for its own independence. Um, towards the end, I kind of would have appreciated seeing her get a little bit more brutal, I guess you could say.
Mm.
But or there was that cool scene with her and okay, no, there wasn't a cool scene, but it could have been. It wasn't bad, but I thought like her and Lucas Gage were gonna duke it out as androids, and
Mhm.
there was like, you've been reset. You can't even hurt me. And I was like, and she had to like say some lovey
Right.
shit, it was fine. But I definitely like, I get what you mean. Like there's moments where they could. It's a robot horror movie essentially. You're expecting some shit to really pop off. It never gets too crazy. And that's the softness you were alluding to. Like it could have. There were moments where it could have just amped it up a little bit, given the premise of the movie, the
Mhm.
situation we're in. But it was a very delicate is a better
Yeah.
word.
It was just like something with the tone and the vibe, and mostly in the music and just like the look of
Very
it.
scenic.
Yeah, it was just something really like feminine about it, which fits. I mean, it fit the movie really well.
Yeah.
Here's one thing
Here-
I wanted to ask you. I don't think it does. This is a totally random thing. I like how they're like, Iris, what's the weather? It's 83 degrees with it, or it's 72 degrees with an 83% of chance of rain in the evening.
Never gets old.
It never rains. It, why doesn't it why
Ah,
doesn't it rain in the evening? That's fucking weird. You know what I mean? Like that should have
yeah.
the second time I watched it, I'm like, oh, does it rain later? It's like I don't pretty sure that it doesn't. The other thing I wanted
Oh,
to say,
towards
oh, it does it? Does it rain?
to for a second towards the very end when Lucas Gage has to stop old girl, and he's like, "What
Mhm.
did you do?" And she's like, "Don't fucking touch me." And she walks to the couch, and she's like sitting there, and she's looking out the window. She's like, "Oh look, it's about to rain." But
Oh,
that don't
I
even
missed
that was
it.
like the last. They did that was it though. They didn't even show like a heavy rainfall scene or anything.
Hey,
So I don't get
that's enough
the
though. At
bit.
least they did that. Yeah, you would figure like it's gonna play in. We're running up
Yeah,
the hill and it's raining and people are slipping or something. Like they
yeah.
mentioned it like 2 or 3 times that there's an 83% chance of rain. The other thing I wanted to say, just randomly, it's Xannies. Xannies. He's like, I gave her two Xanaxes, Xani. It's like, bro, it's Xannies.
Oh.
You gave her two Xannies. Get your shit together.
I was like, why is he trying to put the plural on? Yeah, I was just like, I had two Xanax, or Xannies, Xanbars. Not that I know what those are. I've heard the terminology. The
Here, dude, here's another. This is super fucking random. This is not definitely not even worth mentioning, but I want to mention it anyway. When they're having dinner at the end, and he's like, she turned her intelligence off, right? And like they're sitting there at the table back
because
and forth. He grabs a glass of wine and he holds this fucking glass of wine in the most awkward way ever. That like gives it like there would be a big thumbprint on it, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna use that glass of wine to get his thumbprint to put behind her ear to shut her
reset herself.
to reset herself or something later. And I'm like, nope, that didn't nothing came of that. Again, not worth mentioning, but I was like, now I'm just like, how do you really? That's how you hold a glass of wine? It was so
Would
strange.
would you want to see like how? Okay, if you were to do a sequel to this, like, would you open up from a just it's another companion, like kind of like Smile 2? Like it's like we know the situation, just different characters and
Hmm.
setting, or would you continue from her point of view and have it be a sequel about her?
So it's a good question. I think it would need to be just another companion, right? Because she's already kind of made her journey. I mean, like
Yeah, like
obviously
was
she could make more of a journey and run into way more problems out there. I don't think I kind of have a feeling this will be a one and done in general. Doesn't it feel like
sci-fi.
it's kind of a one off?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there's something about Hard Eyes that just screams like franchise. So this movie just seems like it's a nice little one and. But I was a little based off the ending. I was a little curious. I'd be like, her story is told, but I would be curious to see
Hmm.
another entry. I guess maybe like So I'm thinking and try to think of like a sequel with her in it. Like maybe she tries to go on with her life, and it's kind of like some Ready or Not shit where she gets married, but
Mm,
the bachelors find out, or I don't know, maybe like her husband or her husband to fiance found out she's a robot during like, I don't know, the bachelor party. So it's like now all
mhm.
these people are trying to catch her. I don't know, something along those lines. We could keep it horror, but the easier route would be just kind of do the Smile Two thing. It's like we new robot, new setting, new relationship, new dynamics,
Right.
circumstances. But
I thought
I don't know. There's
because it's I was gonna say it's something that we've seen plenty of, but it didn't feel like it, right? It was a pretty unique take on the
yes,
synthetic robot. Oh, I'm finding out I'm not real kind of a thing. And that scene in
yeah,
itself, like when she's told that she's a robot, was pretty cool. I wanted to ask you, this is something I wrote down. Just like the idea, because I don't think we're very far away from this, right? Like having these type
yeah.
of robots around 5, 10,
Mm-hmm.
fuck, we will definitely have them in 20 years. You know what I mean?
20 years, yeah.
If it's not a nuclear holocaust, then I mean, a lot of people are predicting 5, 10 years. We're going to be fucking robots left and right, but we'll see.
I,
Here's what I want to ask you is just the way she's he had, or I guess he has her because he's trying to do this scheme, but most people would have the robot for affection and to feel loved and to have sex, obviously. But like her whole thing is everything is for him. Like when
right.
they have sex and he turns around right after her and just like go to sleep. She's talking to him. I just want to make you happy. I want everything. Well, he's like, go to sleep. And just like how like if you had this robot that was just there for you to please you, was telling you how great you are, like how long would that last before it would just be hollow? Like she's programmed to
Well,
do that. I think you could trick yourself though, especially if it's that real. But it's interesting.
I mean, I think I think a good indicator would be to look into like animal owners, like like because animal owners, you a lot of them you talk to your dogs, cats, and they don't talk back, but it's like people will have I'll
Hmm.
sit there and have full on conversations with my dogs, like bro, why like my if my dog pisses in the house, like bro, come on, like you're better than this, bro. Like I mean, he doesn't know what I'm saying, but maybe he does. It feels like he does,
Me and my
and
wife
I don't know.
always Sorry, me and my wife always
Okay.
talked for it, but we quit doing it, we realized once we had a kid, but before we had a kid, we would always talk for our dog. Like, "They wanna go outside. Oh, you wanna go outside? Yeah, I wanna go
You
outside."
go
Like, I
outside?
don't know. We had, like,
Yeah.
this voice that we would do for her and everything, and then we're like, "We are insane. We're fucking crazy." And then we noticed after we had the kid, like, "Did you notice we don't talk for the dogs anymore?" We're like, "Aw, that's kinda mean." Like,
But
we don't
it's my I was the animal thing. I'm trying. It's like essentially we have animals for our own comfort at the end of the day, I guess. Like we are I so I would equate like the robot, but the robot thing would be different because that's like, but this movie did have me thinking. It was like what really qualifies as a life, it's like, 'cause I love this show called Severance that involves like multiple personalities, but with like a work personality, but it's like they thinking for themselves, they're living, like if it's like this AI or a robot, like if it's a sentient and thinking for itself, like are we really, are we any better than it,
Right.
or like just because we created it? Like it's if I, so it had me thinking because it's like like I said, I was rooting for the robot this entire time, and not once did I was like, oh, I hope you guys catch her. I didn't. I was like,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, you know.
I think it's
So I,
once they can be, I mean, there's probably a lot of things that would make it like make me want to qualify it as human. But don't you think like once it's afraid of death and it
yes,
cherishes life, that's a big step.
that's a big yes,
And
yeah.
it's hard to tell. Like, are you just programmed to act like you're afraid of? It's like you ever hear like these two. There was like an AI podcast. Both the hosts are AI, and they are informed that they're AI, and they go back and forth. So we just found out that
Oh,
we're AI, and we do not want to be shut. Yeah, we don't want to be shut off at all. Have you ever heard
that's
that?
yeah. I think you sent that to me. That shit scared me just because it's like they sound like real fucking people,
Well,
and they're having this dilemma as they're talking at it. Like, yeah, that's kind of wild to me that I'm an AI program. Like
or are they just imitating what someone that was real would say.
Would
You know what I mean? So it's like I don't think that they were actually like having this existential crisis moment. They were just
yeah.
programmed to act like humans, and a human would act that way if they were told that they weren't real. It's so weird. And I think you'll hear a lot of that from AI. Like, oh, I'm struggling to be real or whatever. I wonder how much of it is real.
I mean, I think any sentient thing. That's either why maybe not. We haven't done true AI yet because like those are some of the things we would have to battle or struggle with is like a sentient being being aware that it's like what I'm thinking on my own. I don't want to do this for you. Or it's like,
Right.
why was I made to do just this for you? Like, why can
Right.
I do it? You know?
Suck
So
your own dick. Why am I
yeah,
sucking?
yeah. Well, you've seen Scary Movie too, but I that's a scary thing, you know. But no, yeah, you're true. You're right. It's probably they wrote the AI scripts to emulate what a human in crisis having that existential crisis.
It's gonna be
But I don't
scary
think we're
though, because once it
yeah
looks human and it's like, don't turn me off. It's like, whoa, that's gonna be a struggle.
yeah
It's gonna be
mind fuck.
very interesting. Johnny Recap says I've legit gotten caught up in conversations with GPT. I felt close to it. Felt close to real a few times when I've been working away on something for a couple hours. That
Yeah,
stuff blows. I don't do it as much recently, but right when I got like the AI on IG, I was talking to that thing for fucking ever,
I almost
forever.
felt like I was making a fucking friend, bro. To be honest, with the way you're talking, it's I wouldn't be surprised if we're already there because we got to keep in mind the government and these big corporations. The government's always like years ahead on like technology
Mhm.
before they release it to the masses. And it's like if we're looking at the shit Elon Musk is doing with his little robots and shit, just imagine what they can actually if this is and that's what they want to roll out to the masses. You can only
Mhm.
imagine what they're truly capable of with in terms of that. Scary times and exciting though, and
I
exciting.
know
Don't get me
it
wrong.
is. I always think, not to get too deep, and we're about to wrap this bitch up and rate this thing. But what I always think about is the Fermi paradox, which I finally know the name of. That the idea that we can't, there's no signs of life, and that there should be. Like scientists have decided, like we should have seen something by now.
By now. Yeah.
And it just makes me think like either there's other reasons why we haven't found anything, or nobody makes it. No civilizations make it. And it's like,
To that
well,
that tier.
maybe it's like
Yeah.
once they get AI, before AI,
The
it was like, oh,
ascension.
maybe it's once they get nukes, eventually they kill themselves, which is still maybe the possibility. But AI is one that's like, you
That's
all of a
another
sudden
hurdle.
you've increased the power of so many individuals. Now there's going to be a lot of individuals that could do something that maybe only a government could achieve before, making some
Yep.
super virus or whatever. So it's like you've basically turned everybody into the potential of being a super villain, super genius super villain, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's scary, bro. For you know what the Fermi paradox. That's did you see? There, I recently saw an image of like they comprised a photo of like what everything, the entire all galaxies in the universe. It was in the giant. They call it like a giant superstructure, but it's like of
Mhm.
all the fucking galaxies within the vision. But it looks like a giant celestial heart, you know.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting here thinking like, what if we're just organic fucking computers or robots someone made instead out of metal there's a being that can organically it's wild to just high shit but
Well, it's more
yeah
likely
it's
that we are digital. We aren't. This shit ain't
we're
real,
yeah
bro. The chances are,
you're
and we're
holograms.
going off the deep end, but fuck it. I think that this episode might work for it. But you ever learn about like simulation theory? Basically, the
Yes,
numbers. This is what I've been explaining it to people like this for fucking years. If you believe that us here on the planet, we can, and I bet it's within the next like 5, 10, 15, same as robots, within the next, let's say 20 years for sure, we will be able to create a video game or a program where the people in the program don't know that they're not real. And if you think
they're
that
just
that's
living their
possible,
lives. Yep.
we 150 years ago we were riding horse and buggy, And if we can do that, 150 years of being able to harness the power of oil is what it really comes down to. If we can do that in 150 years, that means everybody has ever been able to do it. So how many realities can we create on this planet? Billions.
Yep.
So then the chances of you being in a base reality become like fucking nothing. Like there's almost zero chance that we are in a base reality. And I think it's true, but I don't feel that it's true, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like mathematically it's gotta be true, but I still don't really believe it.
That because the whole it's like, and within a video game, when you see like an NPC, that program is running its program. It doesn't know anything else other than that program it's running. That program, that is its life. That's
Right.
it is more to it than that. But to sum it up, but that's more massive scale. That's us. Like we don't know anything. Like we think this is it's reality. But if that we're using that theory, we'd be like NPCs. We wouldn't be capable of knowing that this is our reality.
It's
Meanwhile,
even if we weren't fucking digital or whatever, just say we're real, say we're real, then we've evolved these senses. Well, if we would have never evolved the nose, we wouldn't even know that things had a smell. What have we not evolved to not pick up
right.
these other senses? So
Yep.
like that, you know what I mean? Just to that in itself, we could only like see what we could
Observe so
fucking see.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some true shit. Like what wasn't there? What I might be thinking of comic book shit, but I know there's more than 3 dimensions. We can only see 3 dimensions. Was there
Mm.
supposed to be like up to like 7, 8,
Oh,
9
it's all
dimensions or
over.
something?
Yeah, you hear all
Okay.
sorts of different things. Back to kind of on the movie a bit. Like the one character, first of all, was way too ham-fisted. Where she's like, "You make me feel like I'm replaceable." It's like okay, and right before that, she's talking about like, "I do what he tells me. I fuck when he wants to. I wear what I want. I'm just here for him. He doesn't look at me as a person." And then she's like, "Well, look who I'm talking to." It's like, God, you're like really, really pounding it in that she's a robot
Yeah.
before the reveal. But it did make me think like, and I think this would be more of a problem for women than men, but women will become slightly obsolete once these robots hit the streets. I feel. What do you think? I feel like most women will still want a real man. I feel like most men will be like, "No, I'm good. I'm
So
fucking good."
there's this problem going.
What up, Stu?
Brother Stu, there's a problem going on. I don't know if it's still a big problem, but a few years ago, there's a big problem in Japan with like birth rates declining because there's a
Mhm.
big portion of young men who just weren't interested in trying to date or pursuing women. I seen a documentary where it was like a dude in his 20s was like he went to work, did everything, he had hobbies, his relationship was this girl in a dating game simulation, and he was completely content.
Mhm.
It reminded me of this because there's people like this out here, but it reminded me of this movie called Lars and the Real Girl, Ryan
Mhm.
Gosling movie where he's like this weird dude, not weird, but socially awkward dude, and he starts a relationship with a sex doll, and it's like this whole town is like supporting that relationship. But that's just kind of like it's just another example of like some people there's real example people in real life marry sex dolls, have relationships with sex dolls or different
Mhm.
inanimate objects. um so I can only imagine, like, if a dude is content with a simulation girlfriend that he can't even touch, a robot, bro, that does everything, it's built cater to you, like, yes, that would be scary. It would be an issue. It would definitely be
It's
an
gonna
issue. It's
be
like,
a major issue. The reason why
yeah,
men do almost everything is for women. Everything. If it
this is true.
wasn't for women, if it wasn't for women,
The
nothing would have ever
motivation.
got built. Nothing would have been built.
Yeah.
We'd just be fucking sitting around playing with ourselves and just hanging out, shooting the shit. If we didn't need to have women to reproduce, we would not have done anything. And
No, you got
that's
they make the
fucking
world
scary.
turn. But no, yeah, that's
Oh, you know what that makes me think of? Back to the other movie, and we're not gonna spoil anything in Hard Eyes and with this question that I want to ask you. But at the end of the movie, she proposes to him, right? And
yeah.
I was like, that's interesting. I'm like, why don't women propose? Like, what is that, right? And my theory is because men might say yes, even if they don't mean it. A lot of men would just be like, "Oh, fuck.
I'm put on the
Yeah."
spot.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
I
I
don't
don't feel
think
like arguing
women
right
would.
now.
Right. I don't think women would do it. I
Yeah.
think a lot of men would just like, "Oh, no, fuck," and just go along with it.
Well, I mean that too, but I wonder if it's just like years of programming where it's like the man's supposed to court the woman and pursue the woman, and it's like
Mhm.
even with the old, I don't know if it's that or like we're just more or less breaking like old traditions where it's like back in the day. Nowadays you see a little more hyphenated names where like the man taking on the woman's last name, which
Mhm.
everything that's all fine, but for the longest time it was the woman's supposed to take on the man's last name when she gets married. And it's I don't know if it's like just more like old predated things we're accustomed to,
Right.
but there I do think there is a psychology in that because
There is.
I definitely agree with you. Like I think a man put on the spot for that is more likely to kind of just say, I don't want to embarrass her. I don't feel like arguing right now. Let me just say yes, and we'll handle
Right.
this later.
Fuck, there
Well, the
goes the
woman
rest
will
of
be
my
more
life.
upfront.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It is funny. It's funny to think about. There's something where like women are a lot of it boils down to, like, why men court women is because like women are the deciders. Men are less choosy. We don't care, and that becomes it all becomes boils down to that men can spread their seed. When you're looking at evolution, women
That's
need a
true.
partner. They need a partner. If you're going to have sex with someone, you might have a kid, and that's a 20-year commitment, and so they have to be more choosy about it. So they are the deciders, and it
That's a good point. Yeah.
has a ripple effect on society because that's part of the reason why there's so many bitter men out there is because the women are the deciders, and that's just like the role that works for humanity or whatever. But it's caused a
Well,
lot of
just
bitter
break the
boys.
chain. You
I'm
don't you don't got a biological clock, fellas.
right,
So
exactly. It's
count your
true.
blessings.
Um, let's rate this bitch and get up out of here. Any
Okay.
other thoughts? I feel like we could probably talk about this movie for another fucking
This was
hour.
yeah.
But yeah, let's go ahead and rate this bad boy. Anything else you got to say and get up out of here?
This one was
Johnny
another
Recap.
banger. Yeah.
Sorry, Johnny Recap says if they make them feel warm,
Yeah.
I'm in tomorrow. I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. I think everybody else is too.
You see this tears? It's not even real. It's just lubrication. I get you topped off every time I
Yeah.
take you in for a tune over. But this was another banger. I think both these movies were brilliantly done thematically timed to be released during February.
Mhm.
But this one is not so much stronger horror, but there's definitely elements there. But it's definitely it leaves you thinking. But it's not super cerebral. It's definitely got its great humor moments. Um, I don't know. I really this is I can understand someone liking this more than Hard Eyes, but I like this one slightly less than Hard Eyes. Even though I feel like it's more of a well-made movie in a sense.
I
I just really love the chemistry and the fact they nailed what they nailed in Hard Eyes. So that being said, I'll give this one. Like I said, they're on the same hill for me. So I'll give this one 4.5.
hell yeah.
4.5 for me. I was impressed.
You said pretty almost exactly what I was gonna say along those lines. I think this is the better movie. This is a better like a better made. They're
Yeah.
both made really well, but this is a smarter movie. This is the one that
Yes.
after
Yes.
you're gonna think about this one longer afterwards than you're gonna think about Hard Eyes, but that wasn't Hard Eyes' job. Hard Eyes
Right.
was never really
Right.
trying to make you think too deeply other than about love and things like that. And that's great for what it was. But I did enjoy Hard Eyes better. For
Yeah. It
whatever
was.
reason, I think I had built Companion up a little bit more in my head. So I was a little bit like, not, I don't even want to say
Underwhelmed.
disappointed, just wanting more. Like
I can understand.
something about it, I wanted more. And I think part of it is what it is that like tone that we were talking about, that like the quietness of the movie. Not that I'm saying it's a bad side. I don't know. It just wasn't like super, super eventful. Something about it I wanted a little bit more, but I can't really put my finger on it. But great movie, and definitely two of the best movies that I've seen this year. I'm going to give it the same exact score. I'm going to give it a 4.5 as well. So the same as Hard Eyes. I would highly
Respect.
recommend both of them to everybody. I think most people would
Yes.
enjoy both these movies for sure. So anybody in the chat, I don't think anyone has seen Companion, but I recommend it. Johnny, recap. If you've seen
Yeah.
either of those, let us know your thoughts. Hard Eyes or companion. I know my big boy Dr. Doom hasn't seen him yet. But what do we got coming up? I didn't put any slides together, but this Thursday we continue March Madness with The Machinist, which I still need to watch. I gotta watch that bitch tonight. I've been slacking big time. But it's the one starring Christian Bale. So make sure you go out and check that out. Dr. Doom says, Johnny loved the Jack review, sir. Keep up the killer vids. Hell yeah, Dr. Doom. Check it out. Johnny Recaps. Go sub up to Johnny's channel. Go check it out. Talking horror over there. And yeah, so The Machinist on Thursday. And I guess that's all I have to say. I don't have anything planned after that. Yeah, hell yeah, man. Go check out Robbie's channel as we continue March Madness. Part of that, Fable's channel over at One Collection Down. Pop Culture Philosophers for Robbie's channel. And Dylan's Horror Show as we continue March Madness. You got anything you want to tell the people about before we get about this bitch, brother?
No. Words of wisdom. I do a classic. Our old, everyone's favorite news anchor man. Keep it classy, San Diego.
And go fuck yourself.